Hey, welcome to the Twin Cities Division.
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 I like mine better.
From the historic White 7 Depot, welcome to the Twin Cities Division.
Welcome to the Twin Cities Division.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Ken, how are you?
I'm doing good. I
Being
feel
good?
like I've just been chasing my tail all day though. Been crazy.
Yeah. there's a lot of that. So we got quite the crowd tonight and quite the show. Let's say hello to everybody. We got Colin Sullivan, who said hello. I'll see who's in here. Jay Bickford, BCF Parts, Dan Cohen's here. Dan's train journey. Tom Tennessean. Andrew's here all the way from Indiana. Randy Relander's in here. James Ramus. Heath is here from New York City. Welcome, Heath. Dwight, Gary Thoreson, Wigwag, 3 Dubs is here, former cheesehead, now in Pennsylvania, I do believe. John Snyder and Lee Taylor says hello. So that's a pretty good crowd.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a fun show, a fun show. So, and Ken Borowski just checked in. Okay. Everybody can relax. Now we've made it now.
We're something now. So
That's right.
maybe we got a good guest tonight, maybe 2 guests. We got a couple people we're keeping in the basement. So let's go through what's coming up. We have a lot coming up in the next few months. So
we absolutely do. And before we put it, we'll start here, but please look at the TCD NMRA webpage because Damien is doing a phenomenal job getting that up to date. He's putting the information up as fast as we can get it to him. And that's really great because he's causing us to be more and more organized. It's always nice and he's so kind about it. Like, hey, dummy, when are you going to give me this information? I mean, trust me, 30 years in the Army, I've been called worse. Anyway, let's start with this because this comes up in February, the operators retreat. And again, this is designed for people that want to get into operations or people that are operating and don't know a lot of other operators in the area. So that's our primary goal. But if you just want to meet new people in the area, maybe you're a layout operator and you want to scout out some other operators so that you can add them to your list, feel free to sign up because it's going to be a great event. We've got lots of layouts available, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a $10 cost per person, and so we're running costs on things, and part of the reason we're doing that is because we're trying to push money back into our people that are helping us with that so that we can do more and more things. So we want the division to be really active and to have as much fun as we can for people. Then this is a schedule from 7:30 to 9. You can come early and have breakfast, enjoy the pancakes. You can have pie. There's no rule about having pie before noon. Then you'll run your layout in the morning, one layout in the morning, have lunch, a second layout in the afternoon. And like I said, everybody's going to have just a great time. It'll be as much fun as you can have with your slippers on. But do bring inside shoes. It's just a good courtesy for your hosts.
We already have about a dozen people signed up. So we will not run out of layouts. So
we will not. Absolutely.
We have more layouts than we can find people. So don't think that's going to deter you. Sign up for this. This is really fun.
Absolutely. Please do. Our modelers retreat is on March 16th. Displays, clinics, socializing. You'll see more information again on this on the webpage. 6:30 to 9:30 on Friday. We have a phenomenal slideshow that's coming up. Jim Brown has got slides from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. A lot of them are in southern Minnesota, which, quite honestly, we don't see many of. And I'm talking about Winona, La Crosse, Chicago Great Western. I'm excited about this. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say, I know the guy that's got the key to lock up the building, and as long as he's running good slides, I'm not going to lock up the building.
No.
So you may end up sleeping on the floor, so you're there till 8 o'clock, but that's okay. We'll do that.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Reminding you that the Fremo HO layout is down in the Burnsville Mall, and they're going to be there another month. So that's great. The Fremo N Scales in Waconia, they're open different days. We don't have a new date yet for when they're going to have another open house, but we're sure that they will because it was so much fun the last time we did that.
Yeah, it was good. We all went out for lunch afterwards, ran trains. The Burnsville setup is beautiful.
It is.
They have wonderful setup for trains going on the loop if you bring your kids or something want to watch. There's spurs off for operations. It's totally scenic. The people on that have done a marvelous job of scenery and signaling. And right across the hallway is a pop-up hobby shop with deals galore, consignment, secondhand stuff. Check them out. I know I went in there and emptied my wallet on a few things too. So, you know.
So what sort of things do they have? Everything or?
Yeah, a lot. They have a lot of HO rolling stock and engines. They have N scale, some O scale. They even have a case full of one-of-a-kind brass items.
Wow.
You know, steamers, some rare cabooses, some other steamers, Zephyrs. And I haven't picked up some Bachmann, I think it's Bachmann Easy Track, because our podcast is having a challenge for the Modelers Retreat and possibly the convention, where we're going to give you a piece of the simple Bachmann or Cato Easy Track, little 9-inch straight section, and see who can make it look the most realistic. Who can take that plastic roadbed, you know, we're out of our Twin City modelers, and who can change that to see what it looks like. And so I picked up some of that. But yeah, they have everything. And I do believe you can order some stuff too. So check them out.
That's great. That is really great. We will all enjoy that. Good. And this is a huge one. And guys, we're just starting to get, guys and gals, we're just starting to get all the information up online. The hotel's open for reservations. The registration form itself should be up within a couple days. We're going to have tons of photos showing you what's going on. That speeder trip that they talk about there, we went to the speeder trip, the speeder organization website to see what their setup's all about. It's phenomenal. That is going to be just an absolute hoot. The Carson Park train ride is going to be a lot of fun. Logging Museum's open. We've got a tremendous lineup of clinics already, and that'll be coming up on the website real quick. Layout tours, and there are some phenomenal layouts to look at out there. Celebration room will be open. Banquet and lucky ticket raffle. It's just going to be a great, great time. And don't forget, $85 a night for hotel. You know, in the Twin Cities, you'd be lucky to get $85 an hour for a hotel room. Yeah. So
it's really nice hotel. It's beautiful in the middle of nowhere. A lot of non-rail activities in the area. Leinenkugel Brewery's over there. A lot of rail fanning, you know, within reason. You have Chippewa Falls as the Canadian National Main Line. Eau Claire is the Union Pacific Main Line. So there's lots of things to see over there. And we want to thank our friends at Scale Model Supply. You know, get down there, get some paint. I think they have about 30,000 jars of paint in that place.
They do.
But always something new. Good friends. Check out Hub Hobby.
Yep.
2 locations.
Another place with a great selection of paints. And last time I was in there, I was confused about what kind of paints I wanted. And the person that was working there came over. I mentioned what I was trying to do, and she blew my mind away with the questions she was asking. You know, she clearly knew what she wanted to do, and here was dumb old me saying, I just want to squirt some paint on this. And, you know.
Yes, lots of full scenery supplies, everything.
Absolutely.
Yep. And we want to thank our friends up at Scenic Express with their donations. I'm sure we'll do another skills day on scenery. That's very popular.
Yep.
Throw static grass on everything and make some trees and carve some foam. Scenic Express gave us a lot to work with.
Yep. So if you're a little follically challenged, we're looking for somebody that would like to have static grass on their head for a day. We've got a way to do it so that you don't have to poke the pin into your head. You know, we'll just put it over there and we'll static grass you. It'll be a lot of fun.
I think Joe Binish has a metal plate in his head, so that might work even better.
Ooh. Joe Binish, he's not here, so we're going to put him down as our.
All right.
There you go.
All right, he's down. So, all right, Ken, I'll leave it up to you here to bring on our.
All right.
He's the superstar.
Okay, folks, we have coming to us all the way from Rapid City, South Dakota, Michael Thoreson. Welcome, Michael, from the basement. Did you have any problems down there? The rats didn't scare you away?
No, just the spiders.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. They're friendly spiders. They're friendly
Well, I
spiders.
don't have any. I don't have any telephone wires strung, so that's a plus.
There you go. There you go. Uh, Michael has been sharing with us pictures of what he's doing on his layout and soliciting ideas. And so, if you've listened to our podcast, you know that a month or 6 weeks ago we did a podcast on starting over. And so, what Michael's doing was really tying right into that. Michael's built layouts in the past. He has a lot of experience, and but now he's starting new. Uh, I found it was interesting. Michael was originally a Minnesota native, and he lived in Ortonville. And Ortonville's almost as far west as you can get without going to South Dakota. But it's a really a gorgeous area, and the old Milwaukee Road Transcontinental used to go right through there. And Michael, you said that the Milwaukee Road was gone before you can remember railroads.
Yeah, it was BN by the time that that I came around and remember any rail traffic that went along that line.
Cool, cool. And did that, is that kind of one of those images that got you stuck into being a model railroader?
Oh, definitely. That definitely grew the seed. I think what really cemented it was the fact that my dad brought home a Tyco train set, and if I remember my mom saying it correctly, it was the box said for ages 6 and up, and I think I was like 16 months or something like that. So we have pictures of that being set up on the dining room table, and then seeing the trains, like 2-3 trains a day, every day for 20 plus years. Definitely did it for me.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I wonder how many of us have had that same experience where they got a train that was for 6 and up when they were 16 months or 1 year, and a dad that was beaming proudly about that.
I think it was more for him, but at the time.
Could have been, could have been. I'm going to bring up your, yeah, right. I'm going to bring up your slides, except it's just going to take me a second to get them back up here again. There we go. So, Michael, this is the space we're going to start talking about, right?
Yep, that's actually, I'm sitting in the middle, actually. The
I
window,
can see that.
the window in the back there, yeah, is
Okay.
off to my left. So
Sure, sure. And this is the total space you have?
it is, yes.
And have you had any kind of layout in here prior to this?
No, my wife and I bought the house about 5 years ago, and I kind of started almost like the next day. Like we hadn't even moved anything in yet, but boy, the train layout really had to come. Like I had to have something going on.
Right. Good, good. And you did your own bench work?
Yep, I did. It's all 1x4 construction with a 1-inch foam topper on the top, and it's floating. So I have it attached to the walls, and there's virtually no braces underneath, but it's nice and solid.
Okay.
Wow.
When you say you have a 1-inch foam, what does 1-inch foam mean to you?
Oh, the 1-inch insulation board, the extruded foam, not the bead board.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because
Yep.
uh, that's one of those questions everybody talks about is sub road bed, and that's pretty cool. So you have built round and round and switching layouts in the past, right?
I have, yes, a little bit of both.
Okay. Uh, so tell us about some of the layouts that you've viewed over the years that have been inspiring to you.
Mostly, I think we're probably most familiar with the Model Railroader magazines. The one specific that real like everybody I think is more familiar with now is John Parker's BNSF Fall River Division in Colorado. And I'm a latecomer to social media in a sense that I didn't really join it until I think 2016-ish, somewhere around there. And so I was definitely a lone wolf until I realized that, oh my gosh, there's internet presence of some of these fantastic layouts. And of course, John Parker, that was the one. And then Alan McClellan, his Virginia and Ohio, I had seen that in some old Woodland Scenics books. And as a kid, I was thinking, well, this is just the coolest thing. I had no idea that it was what it was. And that is, and his layout is definitely the one that sticks in my mind as far as the first really cool, like absolutely realistic layout that I remember as a kid growing up and seeing. And that really made me want to achieve that kind of level in my layout and modeling.
So, so you say achieve that kind of, are you talking the scenic or the operation, or tell me what exactly you're trying to recreate there? What are you thinking?
I really like the scenic elements of that. It like you said, you guys talk about your layout has to have a story, and that's what immerses you in your layout experience, or if you go to somebody's layout, whether it be Tom's, yours, with the split rock, it's like you're there in Minnesota. And with Alan McClellan's, it was you're there in the Appalachians, and you're just immersed in that. And then you compound the operations on that, and now you're feeling like you're living in the real railroad at that specific locale. And I think it's just all the elements just bring it into a perspective that just is really, really cool to me. So a little bit here and there, but definitely wanting to tell a story and have some fun with the operations as well.
Sure. Now you've been showing us a layout design that I would call manageable size. Do you have the lust to build a basement empire like Alan or John?
I have the what would you call it? I definitely have the lust to do it. Yes. I call it Roomba modeling, I guess, in my mind, because I'll start on one thing and kind of bump into thing, and then I'll move over to another, and then bump into something, and then I'll move over to another section. So it may be a long time before I get a basement empire done, but
I think most of us call it ADHD, but I like Roomba modeling better. That's a new slogan right there.
I think I'm gonna steal that, because I always say when I go down in the basement and start working on something, I see a squirrel, and then I'm off someplace else. So that's great.
So we got some questions here, Keith. You want to answer them, or Ken? You want to answer them now, or
would you go ahead and fill some in if you wouldn't mind, Tom?
Oh, they're asking what size is this?
Okay, so the image on the screen, the section on the left is 8 feet from that little wall there that you see. And I actually opened that up to have an operator's window, so a person could stand on the end of that wall and look down that 8-foot length and operate the industry that will be on that section of layout. And then it just kind of also allows a little bit more of the natural light. I don't have much natural light down here, but it just opens it up and makes it not seem so boxed in. The wall with the window, the back wall, is 10 feet wide, and then the section that's built in that image is also 8 feet long. But that on the new design will end up actually being 7 feet on that right side, and it will be about a foot or so deep.
Okay.
Okay. And Dwight wants to know, is the 1-inch foam anything like what they call down south gator board?
No, this is insulation board that is the really high density stuff. I believe the yellow is I want to say it's like Owens Corning, but I know that's the pink stuff, but it's the really high density stuff.
Any pictures of your layouts built previously?
I probably should have taken a lot more pictures when I had them, but unfortunately I really didn't take too many pictures. I don't know, Ken, did I send you any pictures of a previous layout at all?
No, you did not. You just sent me this slide. And was this slide a previous layout?
No, that was actually the very first draft of this layout that I had intended to build with continuous running.
Okay, we'll come back to it then, because I don't want to get us confused. We're having fun picking on or sussing out the story right now. So, yeah, this, and you are going to model this in N scale or HO?
Originally, it was going to be HO, but I have two friends named Jeff in my local club, and they're just really, really bad influences, and told me in 2019 that I could do twice as much in N. And so when COVID happened, I as well as many people were out of work, and I made it like my mission during COVID to sell off about 95% of my HO equipment, and then I transitioned to N during COVID.
You know, we have found in the division a great influx of N scalers, and they're an interesting influence on us. So that's great, because you're right. That'll give you a lot of room, boy. That in N scale, you could put an empire in there. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into now. Tell us about, before we get into the designs you've done, tell us about what kind of a railroad you want to model. What have you been thinking about? Have you thought about doing a specific prototype, specific point on the ground? What's your ideas there?
The one of my previous layouts, when I was originally in N scale, I went from like HO to I went from N to HO and then back to N. But the previous N scale, I wanted a challenge, and I for some crazy reason I decided Norfolk and Western in N scale, and like a specific branch line that went from West Virginia into Virginia was where I wanted to model. And because I didn't have a whole lot of your basic modeling skills, I just kind of started getting with the ready to run stuff. And being a lone modeler for so many years, I figured, well, I either need to keep up with the hobby and learn some more skills, or I'm not getting the joy out of it. So I ended up learning how to decal and craftsman kits and so on. So that kind of puts this a little bit into perspective. And once I started with that, with a specific location and a specific prototype within a certain constraint, it was like Norfolk and Western in 1958, the month of September kind of thing. It got actually a little overwhelming for me, because it kind of took the joy out, in a sense that I couldn't model some of the really cool stuff that I thought was cool, which led me into the proto freelance that I'm at now. So the new layout right now, and what I've been working on, is BNSF in rural central Minnesota. And my layout is actually called the Lakeville Sub. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that on social media at all. I have a page. for
I
that,
wasn't.
and it just kind of.
Yeah, is it
What's
you
that?
on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
So what was it called?
The Lakeville sub.
Okay.
And the idea is it's the layout will it's kind of like a freelance, but I took a little bit of scenic elements from around the Lakeville, Minnesota area that I really liked, and the rural areas around there, around the Twin Cities, and that's what I'm basing this layout on as far as scenic elements. The Twin Cities and Western will have trackage rights on the layout, so that will make an appearance, and I feel like that's kind of the element that will cement the locale in a sense.
Great. So, trying to multitask here. So how high, the question is, yeah, right there. How high is your layout? What's the height there?
I think I can stand up. Well, pardon that, but it's here on me, so it's about 44 inches.
Okay. So easy reach for everything and nice to operate. And yet it looks like it's easy to get underneath it to do wiring and things like that.
Yes, and I specifically made that for a very good reason.
Well, I like the floating
I don't like
concept,
to.
too.
I don't like to solder and have the front of my shirt look like I was, trying to drink a liquid metal of some sort.
There you go. That's good. There's the Lakeville sub for you guys. So you can all check that out on Facebook. That'd be great. So so are you'll post your progress on that?
Yep, I think I just posted a couple. I think I shared a couple of the links of the build up to the show here tonight. But
Good.
I finally made my first model railroad purchase of 2024 the other day at the local hobby shop, and I picked up a new old stock DPM building kit for this new plan. Anyway.
Okay. So there's a question about the a second deck. So before we get into that question specifically, let's kind of walk through your yeah. What am I doing here? Oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing the wrong button. So this was an early design then you had for that, and it was going to be around the layout.
Yep.
And with a lift out or a duck under?
It was going to be a swing out there at the very bottom
Yep.
of that screen. Yep, it was going to be a swing out.
Okay. And what did you really like about this, and what did you dislike?
I really liked the peninsula where I was at. The ethanol plant was going to be the main focal point of that layout, and I had kind of designed it at the top there where it had a short peninsula that came out, and I really wanted to model the whole ethanol plant as kind of like just that was going to be what it was. And so it kind of evolved from that into this around the thing, around the room, and it was like great idea, but it's really not what I wanted. And I think I was just really gung-ho about, I just want to run some trains, so it was the easiest thing.
Sure.
But when I really stepped back, I just didn't love it, I guess is the best way to put it.
So tell us what you didn't love.
I wanted a little bit more interest other than kind of a single or only two industries, and I wanted something that I could come down and I could actually operate, whether or not it was truly continuous run. As it turned out, the actual walking space inside of that got drastically smaller when I kind of revamped that plan to figure out the correct way to lay track so I could run some equipment. And the combination of the overall track plan wasn't as well thought out as I had originally hoped. And just kind of diving into it, there were just a few too many elements that made me step back and say, I think I need to rethink this.
What's your radius on your outside curves?
I believe on that one it was 22.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. All right, let's look at the next one, because in the next one now, this is a three slide series. So this is the next iteration that you had.
Yes, I have a club friend who is he's the one of the best inspirations that I have as far as making a plan. He's all about planning, and for his layout, he built a small miniature version of his layout that was scaled out. And after I saw him do that, I said, especially with the double deck, and I didn't want to build a helix for the top to the lower deck. I said, I'm going to take a cue from you, and I'm going to scale this out, and I'm going to build a miniature of my layout, and this is essentially the top deck of that plan.
Okay, and so on the right hand side here, that was the ramp.
Yes, the lower deck was only really planned for being about 6 to 8 inches lower, lower than the 1x4s on the front. So it'd be relatively tight, but you could still operate well. And being N scale, you could still operate and see it in that 6 to 8 inches. So it was going to have about 16 feet of ramp from the top deck to the lower level, and it was just going to be more so to make up some runtime without having to build a helix.
And so your ramp would be, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but back here.
Yeah, it would start on the top right there, and come down that one wall on the right, and then kind of follow that curve around. And I think I was figuring about 30 inches on that curve for that ramp, and then it would snake back to about the center of that right side there, along that right wall, to finish the descent.
Okay, and you kept the peninsula in this design. It looks like it's a
Yep.
little smaller though.
It is. It was. I shrunk it. I think I didn't quite cut it in half, but it was definitely like 60-70% or so.
Okay, and so then we went to, this is your model, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yep, that was the 3D version, and then I scaled it out, and I ended up finding that with the approximate 16-foot run, I would be able to make it 10 inches instead of the 6 to 8, which kind of was really appealing. It was like, oh boy, now I can do some scenery and some other kind of structures and stuff instead of just plywood Pacific in a sense.
Right. So in this design, you were starting out where and ending up where?
So we would start at the lower part of that, right in the center of the screen. There's a little bit of an industry kind of on a little section that kind of came out there, and that would essentially be where you would start, and it had the ability to run a loop to loop, and there again is the continuous running, but I wasn't planning to use it as continuous running. It was meant more for point to point during an operating session where you'd cross virtually the entire layout and you would end up on the lower deck right below that section on the bottom of the screen there.
And how many, if you pretended using the Dave Hamilton geography bender, how much area of the world would this be? Would this be 40 miles or?
I think you'd be pretty close to about that 40 miles or so. Glencoe was supposed to be on that little section there at the bottom of the screen that juts out with the two tracks that you kind of see there.
Yep.
And then it was supposed to kind of progress like through Stewart and over to that section there south of Burnsville and then north of Lakeville, kind of in that section. And then the Burnsville power plant was actually supposed to be directly under where Glencoe was at that top deck.
Okay. So you'd have the capability of having both continuous run and operations.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And what finally made you decide that that was not going to be the ideal layout for you?
Essentially, it came down to the lower deck. I love the idea of having a multi-level layout for the runtime and the operations element, but even though it had the potential, I didn't feel like it captured the true rural Minnesota charm that I remember and that I like about Minnesota.
Right.
And so I just basically totally eliminated the lower deck and said, okay, how can I make this more charming? And I guess just a way, how can I immerse myself more into the story about the railroad?
Okay. I like that.
I like that
like
too.
that.
Yeah, the story.
Yep. Yeah, if you listen to the podcast, we're really big into story, and I guess maybe that's because we don't deal well with reality, but that's okay.
Well, I have started listening to the podcast more frequently. And actually, that only listening to railroad or model railroading podcasts only came in the last like year or so for me. I just didn't know that they existed. It wasn't a
Sure.
thing. So I got bored one day and I said, I wonder if there's such a thing as a podcast about model railroading. And sure enough, there was.
Great. You don't have to tell us which one your favorite is, but your second favorite after the Crossing Gate podcast might be what?
You know, it's a tie. I really started getting into the second section podcast with
Yes.
Mike Ostertag.
Yeah.
That one's been really good. But as far as the podcasts go that I've listened to, the Crossing Gate, second section, A Modeler's Life, and Around the Layout, and I like what each podcast has and what it brings to the community. Every podcast to me touches on something different and has an overall really good perspective from from the host. And
Right.
I think Ray does a really good job with the Around the Layout because we're learning a little bit more about a perspective that he has out on the East Coast where it's a lot more populated and he's seen a totally different dynamic in the modeling community.
Okay. I appreciate that. And then, of course, you did notice that he said the Crossing Gate was number one. Yeah. We appreciate that, Michael.
He said he listens to podcasts. He didn't say good podcasts. So it's
Well, I didn't say that. I said that the Crossing Gate's number one and his $20 bill will be in the mail.
in the mail
In the mail, yeah.
from Gruce
So-
and Casket.
From Gruce, yeah, the return address will be Gruce and Casket Company.
Oh, good.
So here's your current and design, and kind of walk us through that if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. So this is a point-to-point layout, and it's designed similarly to the previous layout with the sense of I want to have an ethanol and grain industry as the focal point. The ethanol plant is at the top of the screen
Right here?
just slightly off center to the left. Yeah. And then the grain elevator is on the left leg,
Yep.
more toward the front of the layout. And I
Yep.
don't have any specific locale that this is representing. It's just elements of the rural Minnesota area that I like, that I want to represent on the layout to create that rural Minnesota charm that I talk about.
Sure.
And I really wanted to keep the scenic elements to tell that story. So a train would be able to use the main that traverses from all the way across the layout from one end to another. But in the era that I model, it's roughly 1998 to about 2001, and a lot of those areas, as I recall, were, especially on not so much heavy main traffic, were dark sections. And so you'd have to get like a track warrant and you'd have to contact a dispatcher. And it was a little bit more laxed from what I've learned over the years. So it doesn't create like a harried sense when somebody's trying to operate this layout.
Great. So I'm going to start in the lower left-hand corner back here against the wall, the outside wall. And that's main
Sure.
line. That's
Yep.
main line that
And
goes in.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
No, so main line and single track main line. I like the way you're bumping out here around the trees. That's let me step back. I still have that operator's window right here, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So this is great. It'll snake around. I'll lose sight of it a little bit, which is great. Then you've got some trees here, which helps block the scene. So from a rail fan point of view, this is going to be really interesting. The main line comes down, and then this is a long siding going back into your grain complex. Okay.
Yes.
And then continue to come down back, trailing point into your ethanol plant. It looks like there's two tracks there. Is the back track the main line that goes behind the trees?
Yes. Yep. That would essentially be the main line for this layout. Yes.
Great. Again, nice use of trees on a bridge here to break up the scene to make the train look longer. How long do you envision your trains to be?
Well, that's a subject that I have like an internal struggle with. I in my mind, I really want to run these 25, 30 car long unit trains, like a shuttle grain train or something. But the layout just essentially can't handle it.
Okay.
So the longest train that I would aim to operate on this would be about 10 to 15 cars max. But and that might actually sound like a lot, even an N scale for the distance. But I kind of have a plan on how to work that in with the operations when I get to that point. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would cap it at probably no more than 12 cars, ideally.
Okay. So then the travels for the main line again. Great use of scenery there to make the run seem longer because the train will disappear. It comes down, rejoins this. Is this line that's in front? Is that almost like a long switching lead?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I like that. That provides you an opportunity to run more than one train. And yet, because you're going to have to pop on the main line, and that some coordination between the operators is going to be necessary. And then the main line comes down onto, is this this is that active staging yard you were talking about?
It's not, I guess it's not necessarily a specific staging yard. In my mind, I'm thinking more of a cassette type thing that
Okay.
the layout could operate with or without it, because that would jut out about 8 inches into my walkway to come into the room.
Okay. The nice thing about it is you call it a cassette, is you could actually have a cart and 4 or 5 cassettes, and that'd be a way for you to switch consists of your trains and stuff like that. You could have a lot
Oh,
of
that's a
fun
really
with
good
that.
idea.
Yep, you
Yeah,
get a lot of
absolutely.
Yep. So then you come back. So far we've done all trailing point turnouts. This is what do we got here? What do you call this, Michael?
Which section are you pointing to there, Ken?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we can't see your arrow, Ken.
Oh, you can't. Oh well, I'm talking about the one in about the 5 o'clock position. That little peninsula that juts out.
Oh,
Looks like
yeah. So that it's actually that was a totally late coming afterthought on this plan, but it was something that I was really adamant in my mind that even though I have the scenic elements and I don't want to I don't want to overbuild and lose that scenic element aspect. But part of the charm of rural Minnesota is the really small town life. And I grew up in a town that was, it was 2,800 people, but it was definitely a smaller town. You kind of knew everybody. So that section of the layout will be a handful of maybe 6 to 8 structures, the DPM buildings specifically, but it just represents a small little section of a rural town, kind of like a downtown section that has your like your Radio Shack and the tax preparer in the second floor kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I worked in a track that came off of the main line there, and that could just be like a team track. It could represent maybe there's a lumber wholesaler or something that's off layout, so there might be a center beam or two that could be parked there.
Oh, that's fun. That would be a great spot for your gruesome casket company too. Yeah.
Well, I don't have any 86-foot box cars to handle the
Oh, there
gruesome
you
casket
go.
though.
It's too small.
Yeah.
It's too small for gruesome.
You can tell he's into all of our tropes. I
It's
hate
into all
that.
our troops, yeah.
He's taking all of our jokes away. This is really great.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
That's what they're for. Yeah.
Yeah. But
We
that
have some more questions, Ken, if you're ready.
we do. Please do.
Well, one of the questions I'll probably ask Chat this too, when Heath brought it up. He saw your beautiful bench work. Do you build the bench work and then plan for that, or do most of you guys design a plan and then build your bench work to fit? What did you do, Michael?
I definitely built the bench work first and then said, okay, this is the maximum amount of space that I wanted to give up in the room. And then I created the plan to fit that bench work. And for me, that was a bad idea because I've been tinkering around with this for about 4 years now. And I finally realized that I actually overbuilt the size of the layout and I wanted something smaller. So it probably would have been better to take more of a cue from my local club member and develop a plan before I built. Everybody is different. So that could be a 50-50 toss-up depending on your needs or your wants. So
yeah. Well, it sounds like you evolved. We talk about this on the podcast too, that you built the bench work and then we see a lot of people will throw something out online like, okay, who's got a plan for a 10 by 12 room? And, and then you just get, all this stuff thrown at you rather than, hey, I like this small town charm. This is what I want. I want the ethanol plant and then these other little industries. So somebody asked, okay, will you feature Interstate 35 crossing your Lakeville sub?
Yes, I do. And that's,
okay.
Yep, that's actually right on that right side, about halfway down on the screen. It's really small. I kind of, yep.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because that'll really plant your layout. You put some road signs up there, that'll really plant it. Okay, are you worried about tracks too close to the edge? We had a couple N scalers comment that you want at least an inch for things to fall over. Don't you have clumsy operators?
I am always nervous about something hitting the floor. I'm planning to use a short section of plexiglass along the layout where the tracks are, especially like where the grain elevator is, where somebody is going to be uncoupling. And the idea is not to create like a wall, but just a little lip that if anything does fall over, it'll just fall into that lip and keep it from hitting the floor.
That's a genius idea. Send us pictures of that. So
absolutely.
Yes, this is going to be N scale. So, okay, how many operators? Is it just going to be lone wolf, or are you going to dare to have some of us come out there and switch cars?
I'd be happy to have anybody come out, but Rapid City is City is Rapid City.
Right.
The plan, I hope to have up to three operators. I feel that by making the layout a little bit smaller on the right and on the top of the screen there, I can more comfortably fit an extra body in there to operate. But if you look at the plan, if the screen is big enough, I've actually marked out a handful of locations where I'm going to put a throttle pocket and a DCC plug in all the way around the layout. And of course, with the plan, it's just kind of a plan like this would be where it'd be really nice, and I can add additional ones to suit needs if need be, but definitely no more than 3. I just think that it would be overcrowded and it wouldn't be quite as prototypical as what I'm shooting for.
Okay. So for operations, have you decided car cards away bills, JMRI, switch lists? Just wing it?
Totally wing it. No.
Maybe put pins in the cars, you know?
Hey, that would work. I could definitely do something with different grades of corn syrup or something.
There we go. I like it.
I really haven't given much thought to how I'm going to execute operations with this, but I really feel like I've been gravitating more towards the switch list. I really like JMRI. Just the learning curve of JMRI to me is really steep, and I know it's kind of one of those things. It's just to get it set up, and then once you kind of get it set up, it essentially kind of just works for you. But I just want something simple, and with the switch lists or the train lists, it just kind of keeps it within the era that I'm shooting for, that 98 to 2001.
And then, so your cars for the ethanol plant will be tank cars and hoppers. That'll be pretty much it. Do they get anything else? Any fuel or?
I'm actually not planning on using tank cars in the ethanol plant. My original plans was that I wanted to model the entire ethanol plant, all the buildings, and then all the different elements, which would have allowed the ethanol out. But on this plan, to simplify it, I wanted the grain in with the unloading track, and then I wanted the secondary track to be just the holding for the cars that have been emptied or cars that have come in that need to be unloaded. And then those two tracks offer the ability to switch those out for the operator. But I don't plan to run the ethanol tank cars out.
Okay. And you talked about a cassette. Any thoughts on a modular section that maybe you could join with a Fremo N setup later on?
You know, I hadn't thought of that, Tom. But yeah, definitely making maybe that cassette in like an N track or something module would be actually a really, really cool idea.
I think I see Ken Borowski's on here. If Ken can post, there's a couple different N scale groups. I know N tracks and Fremo N, but he's in another group. I don't know, Ken Zeski, do you remember what that's called? But they're really, really, really popular groups. So yeah, those are the questions I had for now, Ken. If you want to ask some more or continue.
Yeah,
on.
no, I like that, and that's where going back again to uh, that cassette idea. The nice part about that end is if you make that versatile. I don't know. Could you go down farther that way if it were temporary, Michael?
Yes, I could. I could go approximately another 2 feet.
Yep. Boy, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that. And then I noticed you didn't put the center peninsula back in, and I can see why. This is really it's compact, but yet I'm running trains in my head,
Yeah.
and so I'm starting a train on the lower left-hand side and coming up, and it in my envision it's got 20 cars, but that's because I'm a little crazy. But it's coming in, it's dropping a string of cars in at the grain elevator, and then taking empties, and it's doing the same thing at the ethanol plant, and then it's coming and then going off scene on the cassette, and then you've got operators that are working in the ethanol plant and in the grain elevator that are shoveling cars in and out to loading and unloading, cleaning tracks. So while those two guys are running, your original guy's getting his mainline train turned around so that he can go back to the other end, and maybe he will be the guy that drops a car or two in on your small yard. But the point I'm making is there's so many fun things you can do with this space. It really looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did we? No, you are proto freelancing. Is that what you said, Michael? Or
Yes, that's correct.
okay. So what motive power are you going to choose? You know,
So
Besides Elco's.
I'm
Elcos.
no Elcos, unfortunately.
Off you go.
I am straight up an EMD fan. I absolutely love EMD product, but I've had the pleasure of growing up and seeing a lot more EMD, so that's probably why it's near and dear to my heart. But the GE stuff, some of the earlier GE stuff, the C30-7s or the U33s, those are really cool too. Unfortunately, I don't have anything that I'm going to be modeling with like the C30-7s or whatever. So the GE units that I'm going to be using are the -9s. That's probably the newest power that I have. But SD60s would be for like a through train if I wanted to model something that just simply said, I'm just going to throw a monkey wrench in the operating plan and I'm going to stage SD60 with like an Oakway SD60 and 25 coal cars across half the layout, and the operators might have to switch out the ethanol plant and take the main instead of that lead track. But the ethanol plant and the grain elevator will use an Atlas MP15 that I custom painted for my freelanced agriculture company, United Ag, and that's going to be the motive power essentially that's going to switch out the ethanol plant. I'm going to use my custom painted Twin Cities and Western GP 38, I think it is. That's also an Atlas to do the grain elevator, and also a few BN GP units that might do some of the operations. But I really haven't. I've got quite a good roster of locomotives, and I just haven't really narrowed it down. I might have to do a rotation or something.
Yeah. Do they make a Jeep 15 in N scale? I don't know if they do or not.
I
always thought
if they
those
do,
were like
I have.
Shoreline.
Yeah, if they do, I haven't seen one. I want to say that I know that there's a 10 out there. I think Lifelike did a GP10.
DC or DCC you're going to be running?
It's going to definitely be DCC. Yep.
Well, that's terrific. We're going to tie a bow on this for a while, and but you've got Michael's Facebook page. Please continue to post on the Twin City Division page, Michael, and we want to keep up to date on you. I want to feature real quickly what we're going to do tomorrow night, and ta-da! Oh, and it's going to be the Bonanza Valley and Western, and it's going to be on this same idea of let's see, oh, there we go. The same idea of making the change and going to a new railroad. And so tomorrow night our guest will be Greg, and it's Tahar.
Terhar.
Okay. And he's from Bruton, Minnesota, which is out in beautiful western Minnesota, a little bit south of Lake Wobegon and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But it's old Sioux Line territory. And you are, tell me, Greg, you said you're modeling what line of the old Sioux?
So the Sioux Line, they ran a branch from my hometown of Bruton, which is currently about 700 people, up to Duluth. And its whole intent was to run wheat and bypass the cities and have direct access to the port of Duluth. It never really, I mean, I believe that line was built in 1915 to 18, right in that period. And it never really took off. It never achieved what they wanted to do. Of course, Minneapolis being the milling capital of the world at the time. So it really, and it operated odd hours. Steve Glinczynski he's got probably the best photo documentation of the line at the very end in the 70s and then a little bit into the 80s. I believe it mostly ran night trains. So there wasn't a lot of photography of the line. Even the early construction shots are few and far in between. So the concept for the Bonanza Valley and Western was when that line was abandoned in the late 80s, it did ultimately get tore up in real life. And in my proto-freelance world, it followed the same route as the Twin Cities in Western and the Red River Valley in Western, which are both companies or both railroads owned by the Oaks Development Corp. And I just kind of schemed that by and large, they scooped up this old branch, and with the advent of energy and ethanol and the desire of a port, that never really went away, and they took advantage of it. Right. And with urban development in central Minnesota, and just taking the opportunity to build infrastructure out in this part of the world with wind and et cetera, et cetera. It's fun, Michael, listening to you, because a lot of your concept is similar to, we both have rural Western roots, and we appreciate what there is to offer out here, and are thinking about how, what that means for railroading. So
there you go. So folks, I found tonight to be really interesting, and it's a lot of fun. And tomorrow night, Greg's going to join us and do something similar. We'll also talk a little bit about what's happening in the division. We'll give you more information on the convention. We'll have more information on the modelers meet. All sorts of good, fun things for you to look at. And so we'd like to make sure you put on your slippers, pour yourself a hot chocolate, and bundle up and join us again tomorrow night. Again, as I said before, our whole idea is give you all sorts of content from the Twin City Division, because we think the NMRA and model railroading is a lot of fun, and we want to share it with you. So, Greg, we're looking forward to having you on tomorrow, and for another phenomenal presentation. And Michael, this has been great. We're going to look forward to your progress. And we do these live things from November to March, and because we figure summer, in Minnesota, you only get that 2 weeks where you can actually go outside. So
that's about right.
Yeah, might as
Modeling
well do it.
season. It's summer season
Yeah.
and modeling season.
Yes, yes, that's right.
So we'll look forward to having you on with an update. So this is great. And for all of you in the chat, this is your opportunity to come to us with ideas like this. For Wednesday nights, just to give you an idea, Michael's tonight. Greg is tomorrow during our regular meeting. Next week, we're going to have Paul Butkowski, and Paul did the same thing. He tore down his layout and he's rebuilding, and that's going to be pretty cool. On the 24th, we're going to have Greg Dahl, and he's going to talk to us all about the operators retreat. On the 31st, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be our guests will be in the train cave in Eau Claire, Minnesota, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and they're going to tell us all about the Sawdust Express convention in Eau Claire. And folks, that's going to be a phenomenal one. You're going to want to be there. On the 7th, we're going to have the infamous Mr. Joe Binish, and with Joe, we always make sure he's wearing pants when he presents. And
I thought that was Dan.
well, yeah, we just make sure Dan only shows from his neck up because he's
That's
really, yep. And he's going to talk to us about the modelers meet on the 14th of February, which is also Valentine's Day. So here's your suggestion, guys. Buy the wife some chocolates, smooch her up, and then about 6:45 say, take a break, dear, because I've got to listen in on this, because we are going to show you the videos that we did from the North Metro Model Railroad Club. And that's going to be phenomenal. 21st is still open, although we've got a local guy here that's been doing a lot of Craftsman kits, and we'd like to do something with him there, and then Dan Cohen, and then have him have a table for his Craftsman kits at the modelers meet so you can see what he's doing. And then on the 28th, which will be our last session, Thomas is going to go all the way to Springfield, Massachusetts, and he's going to line up. Yeah, he is going to line up 2 phenomenal guests.
Yes.
And it is going to be an absolute fun time.
And
Remember,
I'm taking Ken Borowski and Art Sewell with me. So
trouble.
Oh, wait a minute. that I sure hope these guests are tolerant, because that's a pretty.
You're going to record the whole trip, right? I mean,
well,
no.
There's parts I can't. Borowski can't be
outtakes.
But I was going to say, like Michael and Greg. Michael, if you can ever make it to the cities from your city, let us know, and we'll organize some layout tours. The modelers retreat would be a great weekend to show up.
That'd be great.
Operate. Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you, I saw your message earlier, Ken, when I was having some connection problems. I am not currently an NMRA member, but I am rejoining.
Good.
So I'm going to be rejoining probably the end of this month or beginning of next. So with the modelers or the retreat that's coming up, does one have to be an NMRA member to attend that?
No, and I'll let me explain that for just a second, because there's people that ask about that. The NMRA is a 501c3, so we have the obligation to do educational things, and that's going to be one of our educational outreach things. There are so many. Everybody has reasons. The important things you get out of the NMRA. You've got your discount program and all these other things, but like Tom said, you get a directory, and if you're like Greg, I think you talked about just dropping in on Joiner down in Texas. That's the kind of thing where you get your NMRA directory, you reach out and say, I'm in town visiting relatives, but I'm going to be able to break away for 3 hours. Are there a couple of layouts I can come visit? And we'll set up some layouts for you to come visit, because it's all
Oh,
about
very
the
cool.
camaraderie. It's all about the community.
And our events outside of the meeting, anyone can come to our events.
Right.
If there's a cost, NMRA members will get a discount.
Cool.
Right.
Oh, cool.
You know,
Very
the
cool.
modelers retreat, operators retreat, skills day. Lots of these we're even going to offer free if you're an NMRA number, and then a minimal fee for other people for supplies and to keep it going. So
Right.
within
Oh,
the
sure.
Twin Cities division, we'll make your dues worth it. And even just like Ken says, your money's for the friends you make.
Yep.
You know, I don't know what the price on that is, but you now have so many
Right.
friends in the Twin Cities, and South Dakota's got a great division, don't they, Ken? I think they've got like one of the most active ones out there.
They do. They do. But I don't know about that far west.
No, I don't know. I know Sioux
yeah,
Falls. or
because
something.
we're the Rapid City in western South Dakota is kind of bunched in with the Rocky Mountain Division.
That's what I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the downside about that is the next like closest to us in Rapid is like 5 hours away. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to get to like the Cheyenne, the Denver area, which I go to the Denver show almost every year. I drug my wife and daughter with me last year. We actually drove most of the way through a blizzard, but I'm like, we're going. And so, and it was actually gorgeous. It was like 72 degrees when we got to Denver, and it was
Yeah.
-5 in Rapid with the wind chill and the blowing snow.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard it doesn't snow in South Dakota. It snows in Wyoming, and you just get it. So it's just
Yeah, it just
Yep.
blows right over. Yeah, absolutely.
right over. Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the things to remember also about when you join the NMRA, you're automatically a member of every division. So you're as much a member as Tom or I when you come over here.
Yeah.
So that might not mean you want to become an officer because that'd be inconvenient, but you're welcome to come and participate in anything we do. So
I really
And that's why-
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why we have meetings on Zoom and this. So no matter where you live, we have people from all over the country and world attend. Our convention, we had guys from Australia at our convention
yep.
Yeah.
spring.
And a guy from Wyoming.
Yeah, and that one guy from Wyoming came on.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
a lot of people.
Yep. Yep.
And,
Well,
So-
I gotta say, the reason that I'm definitely planning on rejoining the NMRA is Gordy Robinson. With he's really done a bang up job with kind of rekindling the NMRA and making it. I guess I call it friendlier, but that's not the correct term. It just feels like it's more open than it had been in the past. And then being vice president of my local club, that's kind of stuff that I look at is, how can we be geographically where we're at, we're out in the middle of nowhere in a sense. So we try to be as accommodating as well. And
and that's why it's so important because I always wondered how NMRA members survived in Rapid City or Bismarck or Helena or something like that. It's kind of tough. So,
Yep. And Tom's a little bit modest about this, but he taught Gordy everything he knows.
no, I don't think I know. Don't drink with Gordy. I tried it at lacrosse. Don't. It's not pretty.
And he's a British Navy guy.
He's a British Navy guy living in Scotland, so don't.
Yeah. Well, so if you know anything about those people, that tells you everything you need to know.
Oof.
So folks, we'll look forward to seeing both of you at the Modelers Meet and at the Operations Retreat and at Sawdust City Days. The Sawdust City Days Convention Hotel is $85 a night. They've got a swimming pool. It's close to Line and Crew Brewery, speeder rides. That's going to be a phenomenal place to bring in. And if you have a family, it'd be great. If you don't, you can always bunk with somebody else. If you want to split $85 room, I mean it just gives you more money to spend on trains.
Yeah. And in Wisconsin, happy hour is actually 23 hours of the day. So
Well, I'm just
Sounds like
stoked
Mike
about the
Oster tag.
Leinenkugel's brewery.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
I've got in the fridge right now. So
Oh,
even
yeah.
better.
There you go.
tours,
There you
then you go to the what do they call it? The tasting room there. Oh,
Yep. Laney Lodge, they don't disappoint.
Yeah, come early, stay late.
all right. I think we're good. What do you guys think?
We are,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all for.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you too for coming in. We'll see you
Thank you
tomorrow.
so much. It was
Thank you, guys.
absolutely a blast.
Thank
Great.
you, Mike.
Yep. Bye now.